All right, we are live. Let's hit the music. Welcome. Let's ACC Tournament, shall we? Live on YouTube, later on the podcast, alongside Joe Giglio. I'm Joe Ovies. We are inside Spectrum Center. I was actually more focused on Section 233. I got Deftones tickets for a couple weeks from now.
Oh, you're a little pre-scout?
I was a little pre-scout, like, did I get the right StubHub tickets? I think I did. I'm very excited about that. But after I did that scouting, I was excited to settle in and watch North Carolina stay on the bubble, which is exactly what happened today. Jae'Lyn Withers, the man of the hour. I want to shout out our guy, Murph.
Yes.
So I'm sitting next to Murph here on press row, and Murphy says, quote, "The clock has struck midnight on Jae'Lyn Withers and the three." Now, to his credit, I think he was, 1 of 5 in the last 2 games. He was 1 of 5 in the season finale against Duke. After he says that to me, bang, Jae'Lyn Withers hits a 3. Another bang. When he hits the third 3, the timeout's called, and I pretty much called the game at that point. Notre Dame couldn't shoot. Carolina did a decent enough job defensively, but again, this really was Carolina winning with ease, which what they've done in that 6-game win streak leading up to the Duke game, where they poured it all out. If I had any other takeaways, we can talk about Jae'Lyn Withers and what it is to play in Charlotte in his hometown. This was a repeat of what he had done against Wagner in the NCAA tournament last year in this building. It's easy to pour it out against Duke, and we've seen this. You just don't have it. Like, oh, man, this was our game. This is how we got into the NCAA tournament, and you got to regroup after that because you don't get to see Duke immediately after that. You have to power through a game like this. It's a decent crowd, I thought, at Spectrum Center for Carolina fans, and now they got to do it again against Wake Forest, who's in a similar position as North Carolina. They both need this one if they have any chance of making the NCAA tournament.
Thankfully, we could get Wake and Carolina, and then obviously the winner, which I would expect to be Carolina Duke on Friday.
Yeah.
Does that make up for tonight's night action? The nightcap tonight. Like, I want to know, like, I would love back in the day, you and I go do a man on the street bit.
We
right?
would, yes.
The life coach would make us do a man on the street bit. Like,
yes.
Hey, Stanford and Cal are playing tonight. What tournament are they playing in? The ACC. SMU and Syracuse are playing tonight.
Yeah.
What conference tournament are they playing in?
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like a trick question, right?
Well, and they say,
so kind of thank goodness for the old guard. Kind of thank goodness for the heels, too. I think they're the big storyline this week here in Charlotte. Can they get themselves into the tournament? Is the ACC really going to be a 3-bid league? Which is, I don't think Carolina could have played their way into the tournament today.
No.
But they certainly could have played their way out with a loss to Notre Dame. So Jae'Lyn Withers, 7 of 10. He finishes with 21 points. He had the 2 games, 1 for 5 the last 2 games. We'll redo his numbers before tomorrow, but suffice it to say, him and Van Allen Lubin have been difference makers for Carolina ever since they left Clemson, 2.5 weeks ago.
We're going to be joined by Patrick. Actually, Patrick Stevens is here right now, so let's go ahead. Since he's where are you? Where are you, Patrick? You're at the Atlantic 10?
The Patriot League.
The Patriot League. Of course you're at the Patriot League tournament. Who are you there to actually cover?
I'm actually covering a Navy and American tonight, the Washington Post. So
that American game is actually kind of a big deal for North Carolina. So how about we start there? You're there on the scene for a very crucial American basketball game? Explain.
So right now, American would be the second team in the field that North Carolina has defeated, along with UCLA. So not exactly quite as strong as the comparison we were making the other day for Xavier with Creighton and UConn and Marquette, but it would count all the same.
I would piggyback off that too, Patrick. In 2012, down in Atlanta, NC State loses a heartbreaker to Carolina. They get in that year without really any great wins, but one of them was against St. Bonaventure. And St. Bonaventure ended up winning the A-10, and you can look at it and go, well, see, they did beat somebody in the field. But that was a team that had a resume a lot like Carolina's, lost to all the good teams they played, didn't really have much else. And sometimes that's what you got to do. You kind of got to outlast the other teams on the bubble. I thought that was a good thing for Carolina today, obviously without knowing what Indiana or Ohio State has done yet, or any of the other usual suspects, Texas.
Yeah, Texas, I think, is actually up at the moment on Vanderbilt.
Okay.
They're up 15 at halftime on Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt has basically been trying to drag everybody in the bottom quarter of the SEC into the NCAA tournament. They lost last week to Arkansas. They lost last week to Georgia. And now in the process of losing to Texas, it looks like. Maybe Vanderbilt shouldn't be in the NCAA tournament.
One thing that is crucial to discuss is the other teams that Carolina is competing with on the bubble. This is an important distinction that we've tried to make on this podcast multiple times, and we try to make this distinction when we talk to you. It's not about the top teams. It's about teams that you're slotted against when they put you up on that board. Somewhere Bubba Cunningham has to recuse himself, does he not? When Carolina goes on that board?
When Carolina
goes on that board? In theory. So when the Carolina goes on that board, they're going to see a bunch of different things. Like, I'll just go ahead and I'll pull up the Warren Nolan while we're at it, with all the ads, of course, because it's the internet. Everything has ads, including us. So, the thing that you keep harping on is the fact that they're, 1-11 in quad one opportunities. But when you look at, the net and you look at their wins above the bubble, which is a positive for Carolina, it's not like they're completely out of it. And I know that Joe Lunardi and ESPN want to hit you with percentages, but it's a little bit more complicated than that, is it not?
It's a lot more complicated than that. And, I think when you look at Carolina right now, the result-based metrics are all between 40 and 54 coming into the day. And so that's not great. It's not awful. It's certainly plausible that a team like that could get itself in. And they're going to be a team that's rooting against Ohio State when they play Iowa later today. We'll certainly be rooting for Vanderbilt to make a bit of a comeback today. Root against teams like Xavier tomorrow against Marquette. Boise State and Colorado State is kind of sneaky at-large possibilities. And it certainly wouldn't hurt if an Indiana or an Oklahoma lost too.
We asked you this earlier in the week. I kind of think I still believe it. There is a way for Carolina to get in without beating Duke on Friday.
There might be. I mean, they certainly don't need to see any surprises like in the American Athletic with Memphis losing potentially, or, VCU getting nudged into the at-large field and then getting selected. But if there's a really chalky week, there's no reason to think that they couldn't possibly be in the field, assuming they win tomorrow. But I think they absolutely do have to beat Wake Forest tomorrow to have a realistic shot.
Yeah, tomorrow's going to be fascinating because you have two thirsty, desperate teams to get into the NCAA tournament, and they cannot afford to lose it. Although Carolina's playing at a different trajectory than Wake Forest has been playing down the stretch. If I put my money on something, it's going to be the Tar Heels. Of course, a lot of people really want Giglio to say, "My Deeks."
Oh, to ensure?
Yes. Paul wants you to do it. Ken wants you to do it. They want you to say "my Deeks" just to ensure, just to double down. I mean, I would take Carolina regardless, given the way that they were playing. And I'll follow up with a question, Patrick, about that specifically. But I think they want you to say "your Deeks," "my Deeks."
Okay. I mean, I'm not a trained monkey. I can't just do something because you
It's like this.
tell me to do it.
It's the Simpsons bit. They all look at Bart Simpson. Say the line. Say the line. Come on, say the line. That's what they're looking for. Okay. We'll close the conversation regarding North Carolina on this, Patrick. Does the committee give a damn about how they look? Because they've looked good. You look at their last 7 games, they've looked their last 7 wins, they've looked really good. And in the loss to Duke, they looked really good and led. RJ Davis has cramps. Who knows how the rest of the game goes, right? When he's not on the bench. So given how they've played, does that matter?
Well, I'm going to answer this sort of in a negative sort of way, which is how many times have we seen a power conference team in the last 10 years go 8-10 or 9-11, and they don't play well down the stretch, but they get in as a 10 seed. And well, what were they watching it? Well, they're basing it, very numbers oriented here.
Mhm.
At the same time, the committee can do what it wants to do and then sort of retroactively offer you an argument to defend it the other way.
I got
So,
you.
so I don't think necessarily that how they look is going to matter. I mean, this is sort of the Seth Greenberg certifiably insane arguments, brought forward 16 years or so, 17 years or so. But if you want to sit there and say that there's probably going to be some other way that gets massaged and argued and basically like this is a team that has, for example, won 6 games on the road and they've won 9 games away from home, and if they want to invoke the predictive metrics, those are all top 40 metrics, so you can argue them if you want to. I think if you're North Carolina, though, you would rather get at least 1 more, if not 2 more wins, and really kind of take it out of their hands.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, beating Duke, we're done.
I think that covers it.
We're done here. The question becomes, if they don't, how does that play out? And that gets back to it being a little bit more complicated than just looking at your numbers and everything else.
And I want to make sure that I'm not presenting this as some sort of conspiracy or like a nefarious, deed by Bubba Cunningham. But, 2 years ago, they were a bubble team. They got left out. And fairly, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
We're still dealing with humans here.
Mm-hmm.
And you're still dealing with someone who and, Bubba's a likable guy.
This is the friend on the committee theory, right?
Yeah.
It's a double. It's actually a double.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember, State got left out in 19, then they got in fairly easily in 23.
Mm-hmm.
Now they had wins over all of the ACC teams in the field that year. Okay. But I think that was one of those, well, we kind of owe you one. And I look at Carolina this year, and you can tell Bubba back in 23 to eat it because we can't make it work. I think if it's close, you get a little bit of that we owe you one. Not in a bad way. It's not it's human nature is what I'm getting at.
So what I would point out is that when you're making the NC State comparison there, in 19 and 23, there might have been 2 people that were on both of those committees. Whereas in this case, it's probably about half the committee that was there in 23 and is there now.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's entirely analogous there for you on that. But if you want to, I mean, I can certainly understand the idea of, there's human beings and this, that, and the other. But it would certainly make it a lot easier if Carolina takes care of its business and, you don't really have to lean into that as much.
Okay. Patrick Stevens, the man, Washington Post, he helps us out with understanding all this bracketology stuff, man. He's on the Heister Automotive Group hotline. Patrick, enjoy a very crucial Patriot League basketball game for Carolina's NCAA tournament purposes. Enjoy this.
Thanks so much, guys, for having me. Look forward to talking later in the week. Enjoy the rest of day 2 in Charlotte.
We'll check.
Oh no, our day is over.
Oh no. Wait,
oh no.
Hey, I might have said this to some ACC folks, some people in the ACC offices, and I meant this with all sincerity. Like, am I going to stay for the entirety of the Stanford Cal game? No. Do I want to witness history? Yes, I want to witness history. I want to see Cal and Stanford at an ACC tournament game. It's amazing. All right, Patrick, we'll talk to you later, man.
Take care.
All of our ACC tournament coverage is brought to you by Hometown Realty. Check them out online at myhtr.com. You don't want to take those cash offers, y'all. Cash offers, you are leaving money on the table. Get the maximum value for your home. So hit them up at myhtr.com. Shout out to Anna last year when we were over at Sound Off. If you need any vintage hi-fi or old school records, Aaron and Anna have you covered, especially when it comes to vintage equipment. Talking tuners, turntables, and the speakers. But Anna was like, "You're in Charlotte, huh?" I was like, "Yeah, DC was easy. The DC graphic last year was super easy. I put a Capitol. Here's the Washington Monument." It's just like, Charlotte's not. I'm like, but Charlotte has a lot, Joe.
They do.
Charlotte has a lot. So I'm just kind of like, I don't know. Aaron's a NASCAR guy. He loves stock cars. We're the home of NASCAR. Give me some beer cans in turn 3 or something like that. But really, if you're watching on YouTube right now, the beauty is the hat with the headphones on it. That is fantastic. That is fantastic. So big thanks to Anna for the graphics. Wes Durham of the ACC Network is going to drop by here in a little bit. We'll get back to Carolina here in a second. I do know we have some state fans watching this one, and they want to know, Joe, what's the latest on the NC State coaching search? Do I need to bring up the Brad Crawford tweet from 24/7 Sports? This reads as speculation, not necessarily a report, but I think we can kind of connect the dots with a 24/7 guy. And who is Will Wade's agent?
Evan Daniels.
Evan Daniels, for those who are old school, might remember his byline on 24/7 back in the day. He is Will Wade's agent. So Crawford tweets out, Will Wade is holding out for a bigger job. He will not be NC State's head basketball coach. I do believe he would be an excellent hire, though, and the one NC State's NIL arm would get behind. And that really seems to be the thing that I've picked up on. I know you know more. The money people want Will Wade. But what the money people want, and maybe what Will Wade wants, and where Boo Corey is going to have to go, might not be on the same page. So where are we on this right now?
Well, I think you sum that up correctly with Will Wade, that it's not like, oh, he's too good for NC State. It's I think Will's looking at his options. What are they?
Yeah.
And I think he would be inclined to take a job like NC State, because quite frankly, this isn't Will Wade from 17 when he's at VCU and ready to ride a rocket ship to the top of a Power 5 conference, a Power 5 job. He's at McNeese. It's a different situation. But I think if you look at what Will Wade's background is, there's not a symbiosis there with Boo Corrigan's background. And the best I can tell from my sources inside NC State, there's some of those I have, and some of them are outside NC State. Other coaches, other agents, people of that ilk. The names that are coming, the names that keep coming up that are not Will. They're not Will.
Not Will Wade, though.
Not Will.
Not those sources.
They are Mike White,
yeah,
who's at Georgia, who had Mike White's dad, Kevin White, and Boo Corrigan's dad, Gene, work together. There's a mentor situation there between Kevin White and Boo Corrigan. Their sons, the Corrigans and Whites, they get along. They have a friendship, a real friendship. Okay. He's at Georgia in year 3 at Georgia. He's in a situation where he might look at Georgia and go, well, how far can I go with Georgia basketball, right? Some people look at it and say, hey, Georgia basketball, it's a football school. You're kind of out of the spotlight. But we've talked about where revenue sharing is going. I think at the SEC, they're going to just throw a bunch of money at football and kind of hope that basketball can get NIL work done. So I would say that you start there. The second name I've heard is Mike Bray, the former Notre Dame coach. Mike is 65. He's been out for 1 year. Some people think, well, he didn't like the direction of college basketball with the portal, with NIL, with, how the game had changed. That's not really true. Mike at Notre Dame was not into NIL. It was Riley Leonard and Sam Hartman who convinced Notre Dame as a school, like, hey, this is a good idea. So Mike Bray, someone obviously, again, with a Notre Dame connection, I think it would make a lot of sense. He's also a guy who's last year almost took the South Florida job from our guy, Mike Kelly, down there.
Yeah, he's the AD at
so
South
he
Florida.
has an interest in being back in it. Mike is an unbelievable coach's coach. I think that would be, Mike's a great coach.
It would help us.
Period. Mike's a great coach. Period. So then you get, now you're starting to think, okay, well, Ryan Odom. Yeah, Ryan Odom's on that list. Again, you're talking about someone whose dad was a lifer in the ACC, and Dave Odom, was at Virginia, Gene Corrigan, the whole thing. There's a lot of connections there. And I keep trying to get back to people to understand that this is Boo Corrigan's search. It's not Brian McMurray's search. It's not the Savage Wolves search. It's not Debbie's search. It's Boo Corrigan's search. He's trying to hire someone that is in line with his thought processes. This is his big moment.
Yeah.
This is his big hire. He's not going to gamble on someone he's not comfortable with. I do think Ryan Odom would be someone he's comfortable with, but Ryan Odom has options.
He does.
Ryan Odom is now in that Will Wade seat from 17. He's now in that Archie Miller's seat from 17, where he can maybe pick and choose. Virginia, who we saw lose today, was one of those options. Again, Dave Odom, former coach there. Villanova is a job that some people are kind of sort of waiting to come open. So, and it could. So we could see Ryan Odom be like, hey, I would rather do that. I don't think anyone would blame him.
You mean timing at NC State might not be working out again?
May not, but also like think about it. The Big East, every coach, every agent I talk to wants in the Big East.
Yeah.
Because of revenue sharing, there's no football in the Big East. So your budget next year is looking at like about $8 to $10 million, even at the worst Big East job. And I promise you, Villanova is not the worst Big East job. I promise you that.
No.
And then the last name that I've been hearing too is Justin Gainey. You know, he's an assistant at Tennessee, played for Herb Sendek here. Justin has an unbelievable background, including when he was at App State. He was the one who recruited Devontae Graham out of Broughton.
Right.
Then he goes to Arizona, and at Arizona, he helped Sean at a time when Sean had his ass in the sling. Sean Miller had his ass in the sling with the NCAA. So he helps him build that roster. He goes from Sean, he goes to Rick Barnes. His son plays for Rick Barnes. Justin's been an integral part of Tennessee's success in the last 5 to 10 years. Okay. And he is in line to be Tennessee's next coach. He was also involved in the end there at Florida State. He had a chance down there. So I think those names fit the profile of what Boo is looking for. These are also names that are other coaches, other ADs, other agents are telling me that they're hearing. So that's how I'm trying to frame this for everyone. I'll be perfectly transparent with you. Debbie would text me even during searches. She would at least respond to me and say, "You're not right.
Right.
You got X wrong."
Right.
Okay. I do not have direct access to Boo. Okay. But what I do have access to are other coaches, other ADs, other agents. These are the names that they're telling me are involved in this search. The one name missing there is, yes, Will Wade. Now, I have some connection and ways to get to Will, but I think ultimately Will, just like last time in 17, is a guy who's going to sit here and go, wait a second, what are my options? What are they?
Yeah.
And I think Texas, if a lot of people say Indiana is not going to hire Chris Beard. Okay. But, quite frankly, if Mike White takes the NC State job, I could see Will Wade at Georgia tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's just the reality of that situation.
You got that SEC money.
So that's a long way of saying I'm trying to explain. I know some people are like, well, if I'm like, I don't guess. I'm not guessing. And some people are like, oh, you delete this tweet. The State fans are gonna be mad at you forever.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not making the hire, guys.
Yeah. You're not. You're just laying.
I'm just trying to let you know.
You're just laying things out
because it is good for a fan base that somehow has convinced themselves that Will Wade is their next coach. I get it. The money people are that thirsty for it.
That's what they want,
and I get that.
And I can see the fit.
And I respect that.
I can see the fit.
I respect that. But there is a reality to this search.
We have access to West Durham, ACC Network.
I'm
ESPN.
not sure that's access.
You're just hanging out.
First of all, welcome to Press Row at the Spectrum Center in the 72nd Atlantic Coast Conference Basketball Tournament.
A very historic one.
Presented by T. Rowe Price.
A very historic one because we are about 2 hours away from the first ever Cal-Stanford ACC Tournament meeting.
Let me ask you, in your dreams of dreams, Giglio, where did the big game basketball version in year one being played in Charlotte, where was that on your dream of dreams list?
I just, it's the only dream beyond it is to have my SMU against Syracuse be the nightcap.
Yeah, that's right? Perfect. Like, that's even better.
Can you just imagine any of us, and David Glenn is to our left, can you imagine any of us when we were covering
25 years ago?
Well, no, actually, I'm gonna ask you straight up. You're sitting next to Jim Boeheim all damn day.
I know I am.
And
you don't have to tell
for a lot of reasons.
Well, if I know, you know this. Yeah. I saw you. I see you in the lounge. You get the lounge. You get the radio closet, and which is fine. You earned it. But I got to imagine that the man who went viral and infamous in ACC country because of his Denny's Greensboro stuff has to be even going, how did we end up here where we're playing SMU at 9:00?
Well, you guys know me well enough to know we've been friends long enough that you know this event is emotional for me from the start,
yes,
right?
Of course.
Okay. But 25 years ago, in fact, it was 24 years ago that we were at the Georgia Dome in Atlanta with 42,000 people watching the quarterfinals. 42,000 at the Georgia Dome. Giglio was there. You remember? It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
Georgia Tech, Virginia played in front of 42,000 on a Friday afternoon. And for me, now to be here and know that it's Stanford Cal tonight in Charlotte, it's just what kind of bizarre world have we spun here?
It's the strangest
And
stuff.
look, Kyle Smith's a great coach, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
He is such a good coach. And Mark Madsen's done a terrific job with those teams. But to think that that game's going to be played the other night when we were getting to overtime, the double overtime last night, I was just thinking to myself, holy cow, they're going to play this game in Charlotte.
Wes, it's such a bizarre time because if you told me Will Wade was target number 1 for NC State, given where we were, what?
Yeah, first of all,
Five?
congratulations to your partner
Yes.
on breaking news.
More people to give Joe credit that I did.
I mean, cut John Rothstein at the knees one time, won't you?
Your boys at 680, you've been calling him Joey Giggs.
Joey Giggs.
Down in Atlanta.
Yeah, Domino and Cellini, I got to have a talk with those cats. That conversation is going to happen next week. Joey Giggs.
I'm going to make the
Giggs.
shirts. Tell them.
Giglio.
Joey Giggs.
Well,
I'm
there's
ready.
a pastor in Atlanta named Louis Giglio
Yes.
who's wildly popular and
Yes.
spelled the same way. And then,
Wild.
as you know, that we've got the Giglio who writes in Philadelphia as another
Now,
issue.
Wes, I know you're sourced up. What are you hearing on the NC State coaching front? Come
Look,
on now.
I think this is I
Come on
think
now.
the landscape's really interesting here, first of all, because and I'll just start with Ryan Odom.
Yeah.
I think Ryan Odom, to Joe's point, is going to have choices.
The Virginia people are very much locked in on Ryan Odom.
Well, a lot of
it
people
seems.
who aren't involved with Carla Williams are locked in on Ryan Odom.
Yeah. Okay.
And Carla Williams, ever since I've known her, and I met her when she worked for Greg McGarity and Damon Evans at the University of Georgia,
Mhm.
Carla's always been very much close to the vest on things like this in terms of searches.
Yeah.
When Andy Landers retired and they, made a move with Georgia women's basketball, very close to the vest. I think that's going to be the case here. The thing you can't lose sight of with Virginia is they've had a head start on this.
Yes.
Mhm.
They are valuing certain things as part of what this search is. Now that they have lost, I think we'll see some of the expedited movement of that list. Now, who all's on that list beyond the verbal of Ryan Odom from the public? We'll find out potentially about where this Shaka Smart thing is from reality. What all the,
How about Little Patino?
Yeah, the little
Richard Pitino potentially, sure.
Richard
Richard Pitino's name's been involved in more than one
Hey, man.
search here.
I could not think of a better time to be at the ACC tournament when it comes to this kind of stuff because there are jobs available. NC State is one of them, and people do love to gossip.
Apparently.
in the back corridors of the Spectrum Center.
question.
So there's all sorts of gossip being
Let me say
thrown
this, though.
around.
I think the Indiana job does influence it or tilt some of the Virginia
Of course.
search.
Of course.
I don't think that it impacts NC State. I don't think that it impacts other searches that are going on. If Villanova becomes open, I think Ryan Odom has a third option.
Yeah.
So we'll get back to the state stuff here in a second
Okay.
and some other stuff from the ACC because I'm glad you're here because I bought a shirt today that I thought you'd be.
It's the one with the TV card?
Yeah,
It's the
yeah.
best.
We got to break that down.
Absolutely the best.
So Jae'Lyn Withers clearly loves playing in his hometown.
Well, I mean, he had a crack at it when Florida and early in the year, and it didn't go great.
Fair, but he's also kind of unlocked the Jalen Manic mode here.
Well,
here at this tournament.
let me go here again. Much as I did earlier this year on television, credit Giglio for the Cooper Flag analogy.
Mm-hmm.
Let me give you the Jae'Lyn Withers, Hubert's offense runs better when there's a 4. Brady Manic, Harrison Ingram, the whole bit.
Right.
Withers is playing very well.
He is.
I would say this, though. Cautionary tale for Carolina fans is you had a 6-game win streak sandwiched in between losses at Clemson and to Duke, who are the 2 best defensive teams in the ACC.
Yeah.
You're ultimately going to see one of those defensive teams in order to potentially get to the NCAA tournament again. You're going to have to make sure that, like, the 9-2 run at the end of the first half today is not something that happens.
Yeah.
See, Carolina, and I still say this, they're at their very, very best when they are playing well defensively.
Mm-hmm.
And my question is, how much consistency on that end of the floor can we get to go along with the way they've been shooting it? Now, 7 of the last 8 games, they've been shooting it like they shot it today.
And that would be the thing. I agree with the idea that playing Duke and playing Clemson, 2 of the top defensive teams in the ACC, the results should. But I also buy into the fact that they had stacked confidence, as Joe liked to say, and they poured it out against Duke. And that's really easy to pour it out against Duke, knowing what you needed in order to really solidify your position with the NCAA tournament. They easily could have come out here completely gassed. They could have come out here today just completely demoralized by, man, we can't. Every time we play a team like this, we keep getting knocked back. What are we going to do here?
Right.
So they basically went back to their normal selves of what they've been doing over the last month of the season.
Sure.
And I think they're going to be able to do the same against Wake. I mean, the trajectories of Wake and Carolina from a month ago lead me to believe we're going to get a Duke-Carolina rematch on Friday.
You get a Duke-Carolina game in here Friday night.
Oh, it's going to be bonkers.
Yeah.
With Cooper Flag here and Carolina needing this one again to make the NCAA tournament. Although we were talking to Patrick Stevens, it's not completely out of the realm of possibility that they lose to Duke on Friday and still get in the NCAA
I think
tournament.
that's a possibility
It's
as
a possibility.
well. Not to plug the show, but let's plug it anyway. We had Lenardi on just a moment ago.
Yeah.
He says they're last one out, but could be last one in by nightfall, just based on other games going on. Carolina's now moved themselves into the discussion of what other teams do in other conferences now. So we'll see what happens.
Because Wes, graphic design is my passion. I mean,
I'm sorry.
If we're talking last one,
it's my favorite part of watching the pod now on YouTube is.
Dayton's lovely this time of the year. They do
That's
an
not
amazing
even
job.
Dayton you're showing me in the background.
No, it is.
No, it's not.
Adobe stock. I put it in Dayton,
that's
Ohio.
not Dayton. No, because in the graphic on the right side.
You're saying that's Cleveland?
I'm saying
And
it's
not
Cleveland.
Dayton?
I'm saying it's Cincinnati, actually.
Hold on a second. You might be right. That might
No,
be
I am
Cincinnati.
right. I've done
Look,
games from that stadium.
Look, all I know.
Destination Dayton is actually Destination Cincinnati.
You know what? All Ohio looks like, it's just
the same.
Ohio, man. All Ohio looks
Yeah,
alike
there's
to
no
me.
zoning in Ohio. We'll just do what we want to do.
Ohio is Ohio.
Dayton,
Second in
Cincinnati,
flight.
whatever.
Second in flight.
Les Nessman and turkeys out of helicopters. Destination that.
So I bought the shirt.
Yeah, you
for
did.
those.
Not even close how good it is.
So I went ahead and I got the. I mean, are they a couple years late on the
Doesn't
AV
matter.
cart? It
Doesn't
does not
matter.
matter. They did it, and as much as I wanted to hate the shirt, like how dare you?
You can't.
I went, damn it! It's
Yep.
$38, business expense.
Vicky
Let's
Durham's not
go.
excited about me owning another T-shirt, but she better get ready because I got one.
If you're watching on YouTube, it says best week ever with an AV card. A lot of people have said if you just get rid of the 2025, it's
Right.
an instant purchase. And
Yeah,
I
but come
understand.
on.
I
Just
understand. I
let
understand.
it go.
Just let it. Yeah,
Yeah.
just let it go, man. Just let it go. They got to mark all these things.
Right. Was that a picture of you and Jillian?
Oh
and
yeah,
Roy?
yeah. It was. This is actually. I was asking you this. This is a pilot. My two Roys.
That's Roy Cooper and Roy Williams with Giglio.
With Giglio, right? So I have this thought because we were talking to Roy Cooper. We were talking hockey with Roy Cooper earlier, and then he's got all sorts of like Miko ranting and opinions and whatnot, right?
Yes.
So I was talking, but then we saw Roy Williams walking down. I told you that. Well, Roy's over there in his finest Argyle, and then Roy Cooper was not happy when you said, "Let's go see the real Roy."
I did. I did.
So we went over there, and I thought, hey, man, it's my two Roys. And, of course, Joe's wearing the Drunk OG hoodie from Roback,
Which is
fantastic.
awesome.
And I just feel like, I don't know, do I need to talk to you? Should I talk to Jeremy Michaels over at the ACC Network? Can we, like, green light my two Roys?
My two Roys. Yeah, you
Featuring Joe Giglio?
probably need to talk to Jeremy Michaels about that. He's the programming poobah over there, as you know, at the ACC Network.
He's the key programming guy.
The best part of seeing Roy Cooper earlier in the day was I was with Ken, our guy Ken. We're on the concourse, and Cooper walks by with his Q-zip and his friend Jim Phillips. And so
The commissioner?
Roy introduces me. He goes, hey, this is Jim Phillips. And then I said to Ken, I go, well, this is not the governor, and this is not the commissioner.
Only at the ACC tournament in Charlotte do you get that.
But he was funny because he says to me, he goes, you really think that people would like for me to be on the podcast and talk about the Canes? I'm like,
absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, man.
yes.
Come on.
Because I'm like, oh, you're going to Harvard. I go, you chose Harvard?
Bring him up there to
Over
Eford
OG
Studios,
Media?
right?
Come on, man.
Bring him
Come
up there to
on.
the Eford. Let's go.
Yeah.
He's been up
He's
there.
been up the
Oh,
Eford
yeah.
Studios.
There you go. All right.
I don't know if he's
no.
had his diet sun drop out of the beer stick.
Dude, let
And
me
what
tell
did-
you.
and then Coach said it was the good, bad, and the ugly. And we all know who's who.
Who's the he said, I don't he didn't call me big fella, but he motioned me over. And
Well, that's quite a compliment for you.
Yeah, you made it.
I know.
You're
I know.
there.
He motioned me over, and he's just like, "We got the good, bad, and the ugly here, and there's no debate as to who ugly is."
Yeah.
And we all just pointed
Thanks.
at Joe.
Appreciate
So
it. Yeah.
we all just pointed at Joe. It's classic,
Hey.
classic Roy.
I let them know I was rooting for the Tar Heels today.
That's good.
But your Deeks.
But they do get my Deeks.
What the hell
tomorrow.
happened to Wake Forest, Wes?
Well,
Because the Florida State game didn't break them because they bounced back against SMU in the following game. And Joe and I talked about this. Trailing the entire time against NC State, given where NC State has been
Right.
and where they were at that point, you needed that one.
yeah.
And that was one of those don't do anything dumb losses for Wake
hold
Forest.
serve. Yeah.
And they didn't do that. And it's just been they've been teetering, man. So I don't know what we're going to get tomorrow.
Okay, let's go back to, I hate to say it's on one guy, right? When we're talking about the 4 spot at Carolina and when they play well offensively.
Mm-hmm.
Go look at Efton Reed's stat line when Wake is playing well. Like Saturday against Georgia Tech, he had like 10 and 5. He almost had a double-double at halftime.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for Cam Hildreth and Hunter Salas and Tyler Johnson and all the other elements that swim around for Steve Forbes, a lot of this success for Wake Forest is going to be dependent upon how Efton Reed plays. And that's just simple facts. I mean, Parker Fredrickson's been in a bit of a slump all year long.
Yeah.
I mean, sophomore slump, whatever you want to call it. And I think Wake has got to hit a home run ball here to get in.
Yeah.
I think the most dangerous team is playing tonight. It's in the second game. The most dangerous team in the
SMU.
building is the Pony Bros,
Yeah.
as Jones Angel calls them. Smooth. They're the Pony Bros, because when you see them go up and down the floor, you're going to be like, well, yep, here's a threat.
And
in
they
the
got that
event.
tank in the middle.
Samet Yegitolu
Thank you.
from
I
Istanbul.
knew you could do it.
Yeah, Samet Yegitolu, terrific player.
Now, here's a real question. The guy from the Adam Sandler movie playing for Notre Dame.
Oh,
Do you
Nikita Konstantinovsky.
Do you put that full name on the card?
Oh, yeah, phonetically. Phonetically.
Phonetically.
Yeah, I've gotten I've taken another page from my dad. I'm now spelling phonetic names
Phonetics.
out because
He was in front of us, and I said to Joe, that's a lot of ink.
That
It's a
is.
lot of
And then he
ink.
goes, what is that last name? I go,
Konstantinovsky. By the way, played for King
Constantinoff.
Rice last year at
Oh,
Monmouth. Yeah. And started his career at Tulsa and then went to Northeast Oklahoma Junior College. Can you
so
imagine?
he's back.
From Kyiv
He's
in
back
the
next year.
Ukraine, Kyiv in the Ukraine to NEO.
Wow.
So wait, are you saying SMU to the final? Is that what I'm hearing?
No,
No,
I'm
no,
saying
I'm saying
SMU is
dangerous.
a
No, I know.
dangerous team
They're
in
a
this
dangerous
event
team.
because remember, like you may or may not remember in the early '90s when Florida State
I
came
do
in the
not.
league with like Doug Edwards and Rodney Dobar.
Oh, I remember those guys. Yeah.
Bobby Sura.
Remember how
Yeah.
Joe, you may have gone to some of these tournaments as a undergrad. They were a dangerous team. Florida State was a dangerous team in Charlotte, like 95. Greensboro was 95, I should say. 94 Charlotte, 93 Charlotte. Florida State was a dangerous team.
Yeah. So we'll close on this.
Okay.
Duke
We're going
is-
to witness history.
what is the history? Cal Stanford
Clemson.
or Clemson? So
Sins.
Two final appearances, 62 and 08 in this building.
Right?
They beat Duke, by the way, in the semifinals in 08.
the
Right.
Terrence Oglesby on the floor.
Right?
where is T.O.?
T.O.'s at the Mountain West. He sends his regards.
Oh man, I
Okay.
thought he'd be here because he's been doing Hornet stuff.
He
so
has,
I thought he'd
but
be.
T.O.'s
hanging
at
out
the
here.
Mountain West, and
Yeah,
he
good-
sends his regards.
Good for Terrence.
You know, the Wolfpack's not here, but it was right that they won the Alpha and the Omega. The true ACC. Like, this is not a true ACC tournament. I'm sorry.
because
Every team's not here.
Right.
that's
I mean, Everett
They won the
Case,
first one. They won the last one.
Right.
Mhm.
Everett Case literally started this tournament
Yes, he did.
based on the Indiana high school
He did.
basketball
That's
tournament.
exactly the formation
And-
of it.
And maybe it's funny you say SMU. Like, what pressure's on SMU? Like, there's two teams, in my opinion, that there's pressure on. There's pressure on Carolina. There's pressure on Wake. Everyone else, well, what does SMU care? I'm not saying like in a bad way.
No, I got you.
But I'm saying, like, back in the day, you had a round robin. You'd come, you'd see a team a third time. There
Right.
was a lot of that,
Mhm.
Yeah, you're
there
right.
was something there. Like, the one thing I'm ecstatic about is that Stanford and Cal get to play for a third time.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Well, and you get to see Reno live.
And I get to see my guy,
that would be the reason to stick
Dude,
around.
he
Other than
is.
history,
Really talented.
baller.
Other
Really
than
talented.
history.
And I'm not sitting here trying to shit on the ACC tournament. I'm just trying to point out just how different
It's
the dynamic is.
It is. It's very
you know?
different, and
It
you have to. I've told you guys.
Doesn't mean it can't
one of
be
the biggest,
good.
Yeah, one of the biggest arguments my dad and I ever had was the 9 to 12. Right? I've
Of
told
course,
you guys that.
of course, right.
So I find myself kind of going back into those vibes a little bit. You just got to understand and go.
You gotta think about doing this differently.
Yeah.
You gotta think about doing it differently, especially when you understand that television runs everything. These leagues they're bloated. You have to be able to find a way to maybe do it over, 2 spots at once, and then you meet up. Maybe there's
maybe if you're going to do an event like this, I think the basketball version of this will always stay. I'm not sure the football championship games survive, but that's another show.
I was going to say that's a conversation we can do.
Or give me some playing games.
Yeah, playing games.
You know what I mean?
You gotta make it so that there's still a way for you to get to here.
Yeah.
Is what I'm getting at. And I don't know, maybe when we did the whole Destination Charlotte business, it kind of did put NC State in a mini NCAA tournament bubble situation. Sure. Can you or can you not make the ACC tournament? Of course, I'm sure most NC State fans were happy for them to not make the ACC tournament because it just, we got the inevitability with Kevin Keatts and here we are. But back to Clemson, because everybody is hooked, the way Duke has been playing and number 1 seed and everything else.
Yep.
And the history is not on Clemson's side. But as we saw last year.
Have you ever seen our record at the tournament? My God.
Right. So we had history last year. Who's to say we don't get history this year with Clemson?
First of all, I think he's one of the best coaches in the country. And you start looking at his long body of work. He's moved and modulated and created that program 2 or 3 different iterations of it.
Yeah.
And now the intentionality in the portal, along with player development, Chauncey Wiggins, Ian Shefflin, Chase Hunter, PJ Hall, Hunter Tyson, take your pick. I'm a huge Brownell fan. I think they're very capable. I think they're one of the Kim Palm top 31s, whatever. There are 9 of them, I think, right now, Joe. Is that right? Who are top 21 offense, top 31 defense, or something like that. The Magic Final Four formula. I think them and Duke again would be terrific. I think them in Louisville in a semifinal opposite Duke Carolina would be crazy.
Sign me up.
That would be worth being in the building. I might cost another night in the hotel if that happens.
Yeah, it's interesting too because we're coming off the ACC awards, and I know Duke in particular. I mean, even their social media accounts were tweeting through it, which I thought was kind of amusing. Pat Kelsey was a very viable choice to win ACC Coach.
Sure, he was. Sure,
so was John Shire. I mean,
we had 3.
It was a 2-man race.
Shire, and Kelsey.
I thought it was a 2-man race. I thought it was Shire.
Probably was
Kelsey.
at the end. Pat Kelsey turned around, as Mike Waters told me and Roddy Jones on our ACC show.
Yeah,
Pat Kelsey turned a cruise ship around in a creek.
Just unbelievable job to turn it around.
They won 12 games in 2 years.
So this is where we need to tap into the what is boy ACC politique, as Joe likes to say.
Giglio?
I'm just saying, this all too damn well.
What do we got?
Because you look at Cooper Flagg and Duke's defense over the course of the year,
right?
And Chucky Hepburn ends up winning the Defensive Player of the Year. Is it because you just don't want to have an ACC Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year?
That's it.
Malcolm Brogdon was the last one to do it.
I understand that. I think Chucky Hepburn is very much the ACC Defensive Player of the Year, and I know with the Ken Palm analytics and all these other things.
I mean, it all spits out Cooper Flagg. So.
I know what all that does.
Yeah,
but for
was
me,
it Evan Maya or whatever it
when
was?
you look at Chucky Hepburn, I mean, he locked down everybody he saw.
That's fair.
Cooper Flagg guards everybody.
Yeah,
Chucky Hepburn guards the guy on the perimeter.
There's also
I didn't have a problem at all pulling the trigger on Chucky Hepburn over Cooper Flagg, and I'm the one that tells you Cooper Flagg's the best non-center freshman in ACC history.
Right. Also think that he got some votes taken away by his teammates.
You got to remember too.
Whoa. Whoa.
First of all, he leads the team in 5 statistical categories.
Just hold on. I'm going to ask you to qualify.
Okay.
No, I guess he wasn't really that till his second year. Jameis still would be my answer, but okay, that's fine. It's fine. I hear what you're saying.
Non-center freshman.
Well, one wasn't eligible. David Thompson was not eligible.
Thank you.
Okay. There you go. You're fine.
Ralph Sampson.
So you're saying Ralph.
Ralph Sampson.
You're saying
Tim
Ralph
Duncan.
is the answer.
I'm saying Tim Duncan.
Tim is okay.
Antoine Jameson was listed 2 positions too.
Yeah.
Antoine was
different,
good.
Dude.
Huh?
As a freshman, he was
unbelievable.
For Dean to do it for Dean.
Right.
Yeah.
As a freshman, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
There's a curve there.
Right.
There's a curve there.
But I would say the hook on Flagg is the 5 categories.
Yeah. No, his all around game has been spectacular.
And again, on your show, I will do this. I will give Giglio full credit.
Mm-hmm.
The Zion comps are a waste of time.
Yeah, they've been a waste all
the
time.
And I continue to tell people this. Cooper Flagg is so much better in person than on television. It's not even funny.
He has said that because there's an effort level there.
Oh,
Yes.
That
he's got Matt Harpering effort.
Yes.
I was
with
going to
Larry
say
Bird, Scottie Pippen-ish talent.
I was going to say it reminded me of Sidney Lowe telling me, effort's a talent, right?
Yeah.
Ooh.
And I was like, yeah, I think. He's
It
like,
is-
and when your best player is the one who puts the most effort in,
Right.
that's when you really have
That's
something.
it.
Yeah, there is something that does not translate on television when you watch Cooper Flagg that honestly even most media don't get to experience anymore either, because Cameron is one of the last places that actually has you there on the court.
Yeah.
If I'm watching Cooper Flagg from the 5th floor of Lenovo, I ain't getting the same
No.
thing. If
No.
I'm trying to watch Cooper Flagg from the corner of the Smith Center, not quite sure I'm getting the same thing. When you're there on the court and you're watching how he plays and also how he is with his teammates,
Right.
it is what they lacked the last 2 years with Kyle Filipowski, for lack of a better term. They just did not have somebody who was like, nah, F this, we're doing this. And I think it's going to result in them winning the ACC championship.
Woody's boy would never back a Duke guy.
Oh,
Respect. See, but no, we got some good ones in there. Joe Smith from John Manuel and Grant Hill.
Yes. I can see
Joe,
that.
John Manuel, I would go with Joe Smith.
But you're
However,
saying he's a five.
is he a 5 stat guy? That was the cook for me. Yeah, I did not make the statement until I thought it. And John Manuel, I have total respect for.
Yeah.
As I do all your listeners and subscribers to OG Media LLC. Let me also say this.
How'd the dead conference hat look on you? Where is it?
It just arrived.
Oh, just arrived.
Yeah,
Okay.
you guys and your base 6, the base 6 folks just got it to me.
Good.
Ken has the Carolina
He's
one.
got the Carolina.
Looks really
I got
good.
the black dad hat that just showed up.
Yeah, that's
so-
the one I ordered.
Okay. Have you ordered the drunk OG yet?
No.
Come on.
No.
You gotta rock
Look,
that.
you've gotten a little bit of my money. You're not going to get all my
I
money.
want
I had to buy
more,
the best
Wes.
week ever T-shirt today. All right, here's the other thing.
Well, I know our shirt's not $38.
Last note.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to being in the Triangle next week to be part of the first and second round NCAA women's basketball tournament coverage.
Ooh, I love it.
I hope I'm in the Triangle. I could be in UCLA. I don't know,
okay.
Baylor, Waco,
Okay.
Texas.
Well, if you're in the
Christian,
Triangle, man, holler at us.
Come
Might have,
see
to
us.
might have to bring you by Eford, or even
We
better,
could be in Wilmington, but
we
either
could
way.
be in Wilmington, or we could be in
Wilmington.
We could be
what
in
are y'all doing
Longleaf.
in Wilmington? Spring break?
Something cooking.
Money talks, Wes. Money talks.
The CFO over here is finding
The
ways.
CFO.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Giglio's a CFO.
Yeah, Giglio's the CFO.
Yeah, your company's got problems.
Yeah, Joe's the CFO. I'm the CTO. So
When's the golf tournament again?
Oh, not until what?
Well, hopefully it'll last Friday in September.
Okay.
Oh, well, put it right in the
Okay.
middle of football season.
That's what we do.
Then none of your
Gotcha.
friends can come play.
All right, Wes. We appreciate it, man. We'll talk to you later. Wes Durham, ACC Network, ESPN here at the ACC Tournament. I think that's going to wrap it up. You don't have any more. Nothing's happened with NC State since you last left us, right?
No, I did have some breaking news with Kevin Howell being their next chancellor earlier in the day.
Yeah.
And it's been something that has been mentioned to me the last week or so. And I think they'll make an announcement next week now.
Okay.
I do think ultimately it's a good thing for NC State that I think, Kevin is an NC State lifer. He did work for Randy for a long time there.
Yeah.
That's the most important hire of this cycle for NC State, the chancellor.
Yes.
Because we have to see how he wants to come in and put his own mark on with his own ideas. There are times where we label like assistant coaches or someone, who was one of the vice chancellors, right, at school, and you think, well, you could only have the same ideas that Randy had. No, I don't think that's true.
No, that's not always true.
And I've seen Kevin, for the last 20 years at games over at the arena or Carter Finley Stadium. He's a former student body president at NC State. He's got an impeccable resume. So I'm anxious to hear I'm interested to hear what his plan is. And I hope he publicly comes out and tells us his plan. Because in part, one of my big frustrations with Randy is he hides and he doesn't make any of his choices public. And then he feels like he doesn't have to explain any of them, which in my opinion is total and complete bullshit, because you're the chancellor of a public university. So you have to be upfront with the public who pays the taxes that pay your bills.
Yeah.
So that is my hope. I think it is on from what I've been told from the people at NC State who told me, they say this is a good hire for athletics.
Okay.
So I trust what those people tell me. But again, I want to hear from him and what ways he'll be different from Randy. And also just kind of like what is his vision for NC State in these tumultuous times. I don't want to act like the House settlement is the only thing that NC State is dealing with. Okay. Higher ed as a whole is going through a lot. And this is a tough time for him to come and make a change. And so it'll be interesting to see what his plans are for NC State. But that was the breaking news for today.
Higher ed is going through a lot, but we also found out in the pandemic as we celebrate 5 years since being sent home.
Yeah. Since my radio career.
When we were in Greensboro for the ACC
what
tournament.
A start.
What a hell of a start.
The dice were loaded from the start.
It was, yeah. So we, 5 years from the ACC, well, really the world shutting down. But we also found out real quick what kept the lights on for colleges.
We did.
So
it was laid bare.
And it was laid bare. So all that's tied together. It was all laid bare. All that's tied together. So if there's not an emphasis at all on sports from a new chancellor, well, then it's just really, you're not doing the full job because, again, it helps bottom line everything. So that's going to wrap it up for our OG live here at the ACC tournament on Wednesday. And we've got tomorrow.
I'm excited tomorrow. I have the Roback AV card shirt, the true Roback AV card shirt. For tomorrow.
Not what they're selling here.
I
mean, it's not as good looking. So let's be real. Let's be real.
But use our promo code OG20. That AV card shirt is coming out this week. So check them out. Roback.com OG20 is the promo code, save 20%.
Yeah, we were going to close out here just thanking all of our corporate champions. I feel like if I was to tap into my old radio-ness.
Yeah, let me hear the voice.
Basically,
give me a good voice here.
What you want me to do here is if we were wrapping up our live coverage of 2025 ACC Tournament in Charlotte, you got to hit them with a brought to you by... But no, we'll be back tomorrow. A little housekeeping. No, before I get into it, before we get into it, a little bit of housekeeping. We'll be on tomorrow following once the afternoon session is over.
The Carolina Wake game.
We got Duke. We got Duke obviously to start things off at noon, and then we got the Carolina Wake game, and that's when we'll come back live on YouTube and to put the podcast out after that. But ACC Tournament 2025 Charlotte, brought to you by Hometown Realty, our presenting sponsor. Whitaker and Hamer, Two Roosters, Happy and Hale, Roback, State Farm, Matt Davis. Call them today or visit the website insuregarner.com. Longleaf Swine, which details to come potentially for next week.
That's Thursday.
Home Field, check it out. OG24, great merchandise. Use that promo code right now, including the Hoops Society boxes. Mosquito Authority, Pest Authority, check them out at bugsbite.com. Breeze through. Are you stressed out about Carolina's chances to make the NCAA tournament? May I interest you in a 2-pack of Zyn and a buy one, get one on Celsius? They've got you at Breeze Through. Check them out at breezethrough.com. The Butcher's Market. Ooh, I could use a steak. I could use a steak sandwich.
I did not
now.
eat very well last night. So I need to get something good tonight.
I am. I tell you what, man. I have not eaten. I'm sustaining myself on M&Ms and popcorn right now, so dinner can't come fast enough. 1-800-PLUMBER, who our Airbnb should call. 1-800-PLUMBER.
Yeah, they should actually.
Yeah, because you're very
get down here, Hayes, please.
You're very worked up.
Please.
You're very worked up about that toilet and its flush capacity right now.
I know.
So yeah, you should call 1-800-PLUMBER. O2 Fitness, O2FitnessClubs.com.
So much more than a gym.
And of course, Keller Williams bringing you all of our ACC tournament coverage and our ACC coverage throughout this season. Check them out at triangleNCcommercial.com.
And I have a very special guest for you on Monday.
Yeah.
It will involve a wine basket from our friends at Miller Lending.
MillerLending.com/the OG. Find out more. Tell them we sent you, and there could be a wine gift basket.
I was going to say, so far I've heard some good things, so let's keep it going. MillerLending.com/the OG.
Oh wait, I have to give you the. See, I screwed up my promos, man.
Joe, there's no FCC rules.
No. There's rules for them. NMLS 250-2146. It's not our rules. It's their rules. Because of how that all works. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up. Thanks, everybody who's been on the YouTube. If you've been watching and you like what we're doing, throw us a like, leave a comment, subscribe. It's a vanity metric, but I like round numbers.
And we'll be back tomorrow.
And we'll be back tomorrow. And of course, if you're listening to us on podcast, by all means, leave a review, 5 stars only, positive vibes only. That'll wrap it up for Wednesday coverage of the ACC Tournament in Charlotte. Stations down the line. You'll return to network programming.